Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Towel Boy, where we try to give you the cleanest takes in sports. Today we're gonna do just a quick reaction, my thoughts, quick thoughts on day one of NBA free agency. Free agency opened up officially tonight. Teams are allowed to make signings. Um, so we got to see some new acquisitions, players leaving, teams making moves, trades, signings, all that good stuff. So yeah, we're just gonna go over my initial reactions and thoughts on the moves made today. Right now it is currently 8:36 Central Time, Monday. So when you guys see this or hear this, there could be some moves that are made tonight, some trades, some signings. Who knows? But this is everything that has happened so far today. And without further ado, we're going to start with some of the biggest like team winners, I think, today. So first off, I got the Houston Rockets. Right now, to me, they are the winners of the offseason. Obviously, about a week ago, they made the huge splash trade for Kevin Durant. They're really going all in. It seems like they made the move for Kevin Durant. And then they just signed Dorian Finney-Smith to a 4-year, $53 million contract. I think this is a good pickup. He shot the ball at an extremely good clip last year. He might not be that elite guy that you think of in the playoffs. Oh my gosh, we can't leave him wide open. But for a team that needed more shooting, um, he fits that mold. He's going to be a great guy who can play off of Kevin Durant, off of Alperen Sengun, off of Amen Thompson. He doesn't need the ball in his hands and he's a really good defender, which fits their identity. So DFS is a good signing for the Rockets. And then they also signed Clint Capella, which, at least to me, was a pretty big surprise. They re-signed Steven Adams. They have Alperen Sengun, and then now they got Clint Capella on a 3-year, 21.5 million $1 million contract. They're going to have a lot of size, a lot of options. Şengün, Adams, Capella at the center rotation. That's a good center rotation right there. If Capella's your third guy that you're leaning on. They're going to have options. They're going to be able to play really big, and I think they're going to have some fun lineups. Right now, the Rockets really seem like a team that could make a lot of noise in this crowded West, and I like to see teams going all in. You know, they could have stuck around, try to go the young route. They got rid of Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks. They said we got Şengün, we got Thompson. We're going to keep Fred VanVleet around. Bring back Steven Adams. We're going to bring in KD. We're going to go all in. We're going to try to win a championship next year. I like that. I love seeing teams be aggressive. The Rockets right now might be my favorite offseason so far. So Rockets bringing in Dorian Finney-Smith today, bringing in Clint Capella. I'm sure they'll bring in a couple guys on the minimum. Uh, I love what the Rockets are doing. And then another team that has been super active so far in the offseason has been my Memphis Grizzlies. First reported news of the day for the Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson Jr. They kind of did like a re-signing, renegotiation sort of thing, extension, a 5-year, $240 million for Jaren Jackson Jr. Um, in today's day and age, players like him are going to get paid. As much as I would have loved to see him get the recognition last year to make All NBA, the fact that he didn't and he wasn't going to get the super max is actually huge for the Grizzlies. Gives them a little bit of cap flexibility. Um, but they still rewarded their guy, one of their franchise players, one of he already is a Memphis legend. Giving him his money and keeping him around long term, which they really had no other option. 5 years, 240 million. The biggest thing that sucks about this deal is the fact that it was also announced that he's changing his number from 13 to number 8, which 13 just has way more aura. Number 8, I think is going to look weird and kind of gross. He wore it back in his high school days, but I hate that part of it. So I'm going to give that might bump this move down to an A- just because I hate the move from number 8 uh, to number 8 from 13. But Jaren Jackson Jr. is coming back to the Grizzlies. They also re-signed Santi Aldama, their forward, to a 3-year, $52.5 million contract. I think this is a pretty good contract. All signs are kind of pointing towards either like a sign and trade with him. Um, Grizzlies insiders kind of knew that he wasn't going to just be like Zach Klayman was not going to let him just walk in free agency, even though he was kind of a bigger name in the free agent market. Santi had a really good season this past year. He took a big leap, especially offensively. Now, I'm not sure he's a guy that you want to be maybe like one of your six most important guys come playoff time. Time will tell for sure, but this is a pretty good value for a guy who produced. Um, Another thing, it is a fairly tradable contract. So if they need to move him off the books, it's a pretty good contract to be able to move. But this is a good sign for the Grizzlies. Bringing back one of their productive guys last year. Um, 3 years, 52.5 million. And then the big new acquisition, kind of their Desmond Bain replacement. They brought in Ty Jerome on a 3 year, $28 million contract, player option on the third year. This is a fantastic deal. Basically, on an annual level, he's basically getting paid what the Grizzlies paid Luke Kennard last year. Um, to me, that's a huge upgrade. Ty Jerome as a 6'5" guard can play the one, the two. He can handle the ball himself. He can play off ball. He's a pest defensively. Um, I think this is a great move. He's another scorer for a team who that lacks self creators. I think Ty Jerome is a great addition. He's a really good shooter. Um, there are going to be fun lineups with him and John Morant, but also him leading the team. He can play with Ja, with Scottie Pippen Jr. He can play as the lead guard. Like I said, he can play as the two. He has some size on a fantastic deal. I love it's cheaper than what I expected him to get in this market. Maybe his playoffs kind of tanked his stock like a slightly, but I don't really know. But 3 years, 28 million, big addition. I think by the Grizzlies, one of the bigger names in this free agency class. Ty Jerome to the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies also made Cam Spencer a fully guaranteed contract instead of a two-way. Not huge news, nothing crazy there. But yeah, Grizzlies and Rockets so far, two of the winners. Another big winner to me is the Denver Nuggets. The biggest news of the day, maybe that was a big surprise. We finally got that Cam Johnson trade, right? Uh, the Denver Nuggets sent Michael Porter Jr. and a 2032 first round pick to the Brooklyn Nets in exchange for Cam Johnson. And this is a fantastic deal. I love this for the Nuggets. Uh, I like it for the Nets too, and I'll get into that in a second. But I love this for the Nuggets. Cam Johnson will do what Michael Porter Jr. does. He'll play the same role as MPJ, but Cam Johnson is just simply better at almost every facet of the game of basketball than Michael Porter Jr. I think he's a better shooter, better defender, better ball handler. Um, he's going to be able to play off of Jokic perfectly. I think he's going to be a highly efficient, good 3 and D piece. Even though I think he's a little bit better than just putting the 3 and D label on him. Um, And I liked it. This Nuggets team. They brought in Bruce Brown for a vet minimum, which uh huge news. Bringing him back to the team. This is a championship caliber team. At least the first 6 or 7 guys, right? Going to start probably Jamal Murray, uh, Christian Brown, then Cam Johnson at the three, Aaron Gordon at the four, Jokic obviously at the five. Off the bench, you got Bruce Brown now. Still got Julian Strawther, Peyton Watson, hopefully Deron Holmes. I think they can make a move to try to bring in another guard, uh, him to compete with Jalen Pickett to be the backup guard. That would be huge, I think, to kind of complete that team. But I love this Cam Johnson acquisition. They're trying to go all in, kind of like I mentioned with the Rockets, trying to win now, win championships. And that was the biggest knock I saw on the Cam Johnson trade was giving up Michael Porter Jr., whatever. Um, Another thing, Cam Johnson is cheaper. Like they cleared about $17 million off the books, so they were able to go make that Bruce Brown signing, make other signings. But alas, Michael Porter Jr. getting that sucks that he's leaving. Franchise player won a championship with them. They should have nothing but praise for him and thanks for what he's done for the organization. But Cam Johnson is a better player. But a lot of people were saying, "Wow, maybe the 2032 pick unprotected is going to be a lot, right?" Jokic will be around 37 years old if he's still playing. Who knows what happened? Unprotected pick. I think who cares, right? You have one of the best players to ever touch the basketball court in Nikola Jokic during his prime. You go all in right now to try to win as many championships as you can. 7 years from now, 2032, who really cares? You have Jokic, in my opinion, is a borderline top 10 player. He might go down as a top 5 player all time. what other accolades he might be able to collect. You're trying to win. If you have say a top five player all time, you're going to try to win more than one championship. Cam Johnson optimizes that championship window for you right now. Who cares about an unprotected pick 7 years? Figure that problem out later. So the Nuggets, huge winner so far of day one for me. And then another winner of the day, I want to go with the Atlanta Hawks. I love what they're doing with their offseason, particularly with the East being on paper weaker next year. The Hawks, they're going to make it out of the play in doom that they have been in for years. Uh, they're going to be a real, I think, contender in the East, right? The Celtics probably won't be as good with the Jason Tatum injury. Uh, I don't think the Pacers will be able to compete at the same level with Tyrese injury. It's really the Cavs at the top, and then you got like the Magic, the Hawks competing. The Bucks have Giannis, so I'm going to throw them in there with the Knicks, of course. But they're kind of in that second tier for me of competitors in the East. They added Nikhil Alexander Walker, who I think was the best available free agent in this class. 4 year, $62 million contract. Cheaper than what I thought he might go for. So I think this is a good deal for them. They also brought in Luke Kennard on a 1 year deal. Never bad to bring in a high field, good shooter type player. And I love what they're doing defensively around Trey Young. We all know his deficiencies defensively. Um, but dude, they can create hell in the backcourt for opposing a backcourt. Think about you're trying to dribble up the court. You have to deal with Dyson Daniels, Nikhil Alexander Walker. You break that, you have to deal with maybe Jalen Johnson on the wing. Then you have Chris Thompson's length. Onyeka Okongwu is a good defender. I think Asa Newell had high upside defensively, right? So they have a lot of fun pieces defensively that can kind of maximize Trey Young offensively while covering up his weaknesses on the defensive end. I think the Hawks adding Na is going to be really fun. Um, I'll be curious to see their lineups. Do they go Trey Young, Dyson Daniels, Nikhil Alexander Walker, all three of them starting with Jalen Johnson at the four, Kristaps at the five? Do they go Kristaps at the four, and Nick at the five, go big, Jalen Johnson at the three, Dyson and Trey Young, or Na and Trey Young with Dyson and or Na off the bench? I think I'm really curious to see. I really like what they're building over there in Atlanta. And I saw a tweet. I don't remember who said it, but it was kind of true. It was like a year ago this time, the Hawks had one of the bleaker futures, right? Because probably there's been stuck in that purgatory in the play-in. Not a ton of young players, but then Dyson Daniels taking that leap. Jalen Johnson looks like a future All-Star. Now they added Nikhil Alexander Walker on a good contract. The Hawks are making some really good moves. They're one of my big winners here. Uh, and Day one of free agency of the offseason. So those are my four winners right there. The Rockets bringing in Dorian Finney-Smith, Clint Capella, obviously Kevin Durant earlier. Grizzlies re-signing some of their guys with Jaren Jackson, Santi Aldama, bringing in Ty Jerome. Um, Grizzlies is going to be tough because just the West is so good, right? I can see a 42 win team not making the playoffs. So Grizzlies, we'll see what happens. I don't think they're in that elite upper echelon tier in the West, but they're still going to be a competitive team, I think. Um, the Nuggets, I think, will be in that upper tier of competitors, probably just because they have Jokic, right? But bringing in Cam Johnson, elite role player. Bruce Brown, another borderline elite role player for them. Love what they're doing. And then the Hawks, right? Jumping in, trying to make that jump to be competitors in the West. So those are my four winning teams of the day. And then just a couple other free agency signings that I like or that I thought were fairly notable. Um, Tyus Jones signed a 1 year, $7 million deal to Orlando. Uh, I don't think he's going to have a huge impact, but I've talked about it a lot. They needed backcourt help, even with Desmond Bain coming in. They got Jace Richardson. So I think Suggs, Richardson, Bain, Jones, good backcourt. It's going to help them out. I don't think they want to rely on Tyus Jones, but they signed him to a 1 year, $7 million deal. He's not going to be relied on to do a whole bunch, right? Um, this next, Luca Garza went to the Celtics for a 1 year, $5.5 million. Not a huge deal, but they did lose some center depth, right? Luke Cornett is leaving, um, but he's not going to play a ton. It gives him some depth. I think he's a good player. Might give him some versatility. Uh, then Brooke Lopez, kind of, he signed with the other Los Angeles teams, right? He was linked to the Lakers. But he signed a 2-year, $18 million deal to the Clippers. Uh, I think this gives them good depth at the position. They didn't have a lot of center depth. Um, they're going to give Zubac some more time to rest in the regular season. I think this is going to help them a lot in the postseason, just because Zubac will have more to give in the postseason. I think Brook Lopez is definitely past his prime. He's still got some good stuff in there. I think this is a good pickup for the Clippers. It's kind of funny they're playing into that geriatric type of idea with uh, older players. It's funny, but Brook Lopez, good signing, I think. Underrated signing that I didn't see until late was Karis LeVert going to Detroit, especially with Malik Beasley. Who knows the news there if he's going to stay? They added a good scorer, a good shooter to that roster for 2 years, $29 million. I like that addition to Detroit. Then Luke Cornett going to San Antonio, giving them some center depth. I think this is a great pickup for the Spurs. 4 years, 41 million might seem steep to people who don't follow deeply and they just kind of know Luke Cornett off of his stats, whatever. But if you watch the games, if you watch tape, if you know the impact Luke Cornett can have, this is a really, really a good pickup, I think. He's a really, really good rebounder. Previous years, he used to shoot. We'll see if he gets back to that. But another good player to what the Spurs are adding. Um, I think they can be a play-in team. He can contribute this year to be a play-in type team, and he's not too old. He can contribute once they hit that upper echelon of, hey, we're trying to be champions now. So Luke Cornett to the Spurs is a pretty notable signing. One questionable signing I had was Kevon Looney to the Pelicans. 2 years, $60 million. I mean, they traded up for Derek Queen. Uh, Kevon Looney also can't shoot really well. Like, I'm not entirely sure uh, what the Pelicans are kind of doing with that. Kevon Looney's a fine player, uh, but kind of interesting just to see the direction that they're trying to go there. Um, and then another one, Kevin Porter Jr. got signed to the Bucks. Obviously, not my favorite I person to be in the league, but he's a fairly um, good role player. With Dame out, he did contribute well offensively. 2 years, $11 million. As far as just this player itself, that's a pretty good deal for the Bucks, as they're trying to create good players on the margins around Giannis. Um, One good signing, a really big signing that I think um, is underappreciated is D'Angelo Russell, D'Lo, going to Dallas Mavericks on a 2 year, $13 million deal. We've seen his stock tank a little bit the last couple of years, but for 2 years, $13 million, D'Angelo Russell, he's still a good player. We've seen him be a productive player on winning teams. Um, we've seen him be a player on bad teams, but he's still a good player. And then with Kyrie being out for part of the season, they needed a guard. D'Lo can be that guard, right? He can give you some scoring opportunities. And then when Kyrie comes back, he can play off the bench, be your six-man scorer type. I do like this deal a lot. I've always been a little bit of a D'Lo fan, so maybe I have some bias, but I think he fits the roster what they wanted to do. He helps them in areas of need, with and without Kyrie Irving in the backcourt. So D'Lo to the Mavs is a big one. Um, Sneaky one I like. I'll talk about this team as well. Jake LaRavia, 2 years, $12 million to the Lakers. Last year, he had a career season. Um, Playing with both the Kings and the Grizzlies, fit into both systems. Just looking at him, he looks like he kind of moves clunky, slow, but he's actually a really good wing defender. He can shoot the ball really well. He shot the ball well last year. He can handle the ball a little bit. All things that the Lakers need. So they added some uh, need to their wing position here with Jake LaRavia. But I'm also just curious why the Lakers would trade for Dorian Finney-Smith and then not re-sign him. So that was a questionable move by the Lakers. I think obviously they've struck out so far on all the centers. We all know that they're probably going to get DeAndre Ayton. Um, so we'll see what the Lakers do to kind of maximize that Luca LeBron. Probably, I think their only full season together. But I do like this move. It's a good move on the margins. Jake LaRavia to the Lakers. Then another team that's done pretty well as far as free agents go are the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, they had that trade, getting rid of Cam Johnson, bringing back Michael Porter Jr. I think MPJ is going to kind of come in and he might be the number one option, right? We all joked about them making a bunch of weird draft picks for a bunch of pass first guys. So Michael Porter Jr. and Cam Thomas are going to get ready to unload the clip. Ben Sarab, Jaeger Dittman, Nolan Traore, pass to MPJ, pass to Cam Thomas, let them shoot the ball. We'll see what happens there. Um, but then they also re-signed Zaire Williams and Dayron Sharp on cheap returning contracts, right? Zaire Williams, in my personal opinion, doesn't move the needle, but bringing him back, younger wing on a good contract, that's fine. I thought Dayron Sharp is getting super underpaid with this contract, about a 2 year, 12 million ish dollar deal. I personally am super high on Sharp. I thought he maybe would have been the best center available for other teams. So the fact that nobody else could outbid the Nets, or that the Nets just were able to talk Sharp into returning, super impressive. I like that signing a lot. So the Nets have a somewhat of a winning day. I didn't put them in my winners, but I liked what they did so far as day one and kind of what they could do. And then the last signing I'll talk about, Dennis Schroeder, undisclosed amount. Looks like he's going to Sacramento. They need a point guard help. They're probably not going to be a playoff team. Not a huge news for as far as winning basketball, but he's a good player, so I thought it was notable, worth talking about. Yeah, and those are all the day one signings so far that we were talking about. Um, like I said earlier, there might be some crazy signings, crazy trades by the time I record this video and you guys see it. Um, listen to it. But yeah, thanks for checking in. Let me know some of your favorite signings, and where you want to see your favorite free agents land, or some of your favorite teams who you want to see sign during the rest of free agency. Thanks for checking in, and have a good one.